My name is Zoe, and I am 28 years. 8 months ago, I applied for a mortgage and discovered that my credit score was devastated. Not low. Devastated. The kind of number that appears when someone has been using your identity to open accounts, take loans, and accumulate debt for a significant period of time. The loan officer across the desk looked at me with the particular expression of someone delivering news they have delivered before, but that never gets easier. "Miss Zoe," she said carefully, "there are 17 accounts here that don't appear to match your financial history. Some of them go back 8 years. 8 years. I was 28. 8 years ago, I was 20. A university student with a part-time job and no credit cards and absolutely no reason to have 17 accounts in my name. Can you tell me the addresses associated with these accounts?" I said. She read them out. Every single one was my mother's address. Let me tell you about my mother, Linda. She was 53 years old. My mother, in the biological sense, the woman who had given birth to me, raised me through childhood, been present in all the ways that counted as present if you didn't look too closely at what presence actually required. She was not a monster. She was something more complicated and in some ways more difficult to name, a woman who had spent her entire adult life in financial chaos and had developed, over decades, the particular skill set of someone who survives by using whatever is available. I had known, growing up, that money was always difficult. Not in the honest way of families who acknowledge their limitations and work within them. In the chaotic way of a woman who consistently spent more than she had and consistently found creative solutions to the gap. Solutions that were short-term and damaging, and that she would implement with the particular breezy confidence of someone who has convinced herself that this time would be different. There had been credit cards I didn't know about. Store accounts opened in my name when I was 16. I had found out about one of them when a collections letter arrived at our house addressed to me. My mother had explained it away. A misunderstanding. She had meant to use her own name. She would fix it. She had not fixed it. I had filed it away, the particular habit of a child who has learned that the adults in her life are not reliable managers of reality and that the safest response is to absorb the irregularity and move on. I had been moving on for 12 years. Moving on while my mother had apparently been opening accounts. 17 of them. In my name. Over 8 years. I sat in the loan officer's office and felt something I needed to identify precisely before I decided what to do with it. Not shock, not exactly. There was a part of me that had known, in the way that children who grow up around chaos always know, that something like this was possible. That the 16-year-old collections letter had not been an isolated incident. What I felt was the specific cold clarity of confirmation. What are my options? I said. The loan officer looked at me carefully. If these accounts were opened without your knowledge or consent, she said, that is identity theft. You would need to file a police report and a report with the credit bureaus. She paused. Do you have any idea who might have? Yes, I said. She waited. My mother, I said. The particular silence of a professional who has heard this before and has decided that her job is information rather than reaction. I'm sorry, she said. Thank you, I said. I drove home. I sat in my car outside my apartment for 20 minutes. And then I called my best friend Maya. She did it, I said when Maya answered. All of it. 17 accounts. 8 years. Maya was quiet for a moment. Zoe, she said. I know, I said. What are you going to do? I looked at my steering wheel. I don't know yet, I said. But I know what I have to do first. What? She said. I have to decide, I said, whether to file a police report. The silence that followed was the longest of the conversation, because we both understood what that meant. Filing a police report against my mother, the woman who had raised me. The woman who had also stolen my financial identity for 8 years. Both of those things were true simultaneously. And I had to decide what to do with both of them. I spent 3 days going through everything. Not because I needed more evidence. 17 accounts at my mother's address was evidence enough. But because I needed to understand the full scope of it before I made any decisions. I needed to know what I was actually dealing with. I requested my full credit report. All 3 bureaus. I sat at my kitchen table with the report spread across it, and I went through every line. 17 accounts. 8 years. The oldest opened when I was 20. A store credit card. Limit $2,000. Balance $2,000. Payments missed for 6 years before it went to collections. The most recent opened 14 months ago. A personal loan. $15,000. Total debt in my name that I had not incurred, $63,000. $63,000. I sat with that number for a long time. $63,000 of debt that existed because my mother had used my name, my social security number, my identity, the legal and financial person that was me, as a resource she was entitled to access. The particular entitlement of it. Not the malice. I didn't think it was malicious. Not exactly. I thought it was the specific entitlement of someone who had convinced herself that what was mine was available to her. That the boundary between my financial identity and hers was permeable in the way that all boundaries with her had always been permeable. She had never respected boundaries. I had spent 28 years managing that. I had not understood that managing it had cost me $63,000. I called a lawyer on Thursday. Not a family lawyer, a lawyer who specialized in identity theft and credit fraud. Her name was Patricia Chin, and she had been recommended by my bank when I called to explain the situation. She listened to everything. When I finished, she said, "This is a strong case. The documentation is clear, the amounts are significant, and the pattern over 8 years establishes intent." "My mother," I said. "I understand," she said. "That complicates it emotionally. It doesn't change the legal facts. What are my options?" I said. She walked me through them. I could file a police report, which would initiate a criminal investigation. Given the amounts and the duration, my mother could face serious charges. I could pursue civil remedies, sue for the debt she had created in my name. I could do both. Or I could confront her directly and attempt to negotiate repayment without involving law enforcement, though Patricia was clear that this option carried significant risk, as it gave my mother the opportunity to further complicate the situation. "What would you do?" I said. She was quiet for a moment. "My professional advice," she said carefully, "is to file the police report. The amounts involved are significant. The pattern is long-standing. Without legal documentation, you have very limited recourse." "And if I don't want to send my mother to prison?" I said. "That's a separate question," she said. "Filing a report doesn't guarantee prosecution. But it creates the legal record that protects you and gives you options." I sat with that. "I need time," I said. "Of course," she said. "But Zoe, don't wait too long. The longer you wait, the more complicated this becomes." I called my mother on Friday. Not to confront, not yet. I wasn't ready for the confrontation. But I needed to hear her voice. I needed to understand something before I made the decision about the police report. She answered warmly. She always answered warmly. "Zoe, I was just thinking about you." "Were you?" I said. "I was going to call actually. Are you free Sunday? I thought we could have lunch." I looked at the credit report spread across my kitchen table. $63,000. "Mom," I said, "I need to ask you something." "Of course," she said. Still warm. Still breezy. "Did you open any accounts in my name?" I said. Silence. Not long, just a beat. Just long enough to be significant. "What do you mean?" she said. "Credit cards. Loans. Accounts of any kind. In my name. Without telling me." Another beat. "Zoe, I don't know what you're—" "Mom." My voice was steady. "I have my full credit report in front of me. 17 accounts. $63,000. 8 years. All opened at your address. The silence that followed was the longest yet. I can explain, she said. I know you can, I said. I'll hear the explanation in person. Sunday lunch. My place. I hung up and started preparing for the most important conversation of my life. She arrived at noon. Slightly overdressed for a Sunday lunch at my apartment, the particular performance of someone who has decided that presentation is armor. She brought flowers. The gesture of someone who wants the visit to feel like a normal thing. It was not a normal thing. I had the credit reports on my kitchen table. She saw them when she came in. Her step faltered. Just slightly. Just enough. Sit down, Mom, I said. She sat. I did not offer tea. I did not take the flowers. I sat across from her and looked at the woman who had raised me and who had spent 8 years using my identity, and I said, "Tell me." She told me. Not immediately. There was a period of deflection first, the particular linguistic dance of someone who has been managing reality for decades and reaches for management instinctively. It was only supposed to be temporary. I always meant to pay it back. I didn't think it would affect your credit that badly. I let her go through the dance. I had the credit reports. I had $63,000 of evidence. I could wait. When the deflection ran out, she went quiet. And then she told me the truth. The first account, the store credit card when I was 20, had been opened during a particularly difficult financial period. She had needed the credit and her own credit was already damaged. My name was clean. She had told herself it was temporary. It hadn't been temporary. One account had led to another. Each time she needed something and her own credit couldn't provide it, she had gone back to the resource she had already accessed. The pattern had established itself with the ease of something that had worked before. I told myself you'd never find out, she said. Why? I said. Because you never checked your credit, she said. You never needed to. You were young and you didn't have reason to look. Until I tried to buy a house, I said. She looked at the table. Yes, she said. Mom, I said. What you did is identity theft. Do you understand that? Legally. Criminally. What you did is identity theft. She flinched. I'm your mother. That makes it worse, I said. Asterisk, not better. You used the fact that I trusted you. That I wouldn't check. That the boundary between us felt permeable because you raised me and I loved you. I paused. You used my love as access. She was crying now. The real kind, I thought, or close enough that the distinction didn't matter in this moment. I'm sorry, she said. Zoe. I am so sorry. I know, I said. Sorry doesn't fix $63,000. I'll pay it back. How? I said. Your credit is destroyed. You have no savings. How will you pay back $63,000? She had no answer. I have a lawyer, I said. I have all the documentation. I have grounds to file a criminal report. She went very still. Are you going to? She said. I looked at my mother. At the woman who had raised me and stolen from me simultaneously. At the flowers she had brought. At the tears that were real or close to real. I don't know yet, I said. But I need you to understand something. What? She said. Whatever I decide, I said, my financial life is not your resource. My name is not your resource. My identity, who I am legally and financially, belongs to me. Not to you. Not to anyone. To me. I know, she said. I need you to prove that you know, I said. Not with words. With what happens next. I did not file the police report immediately. I want to be honest about the process, because the version where I made a clean, decisive choice and executed it without doubt is not the true version. The true version involved 2 weeks of sitting with the most difficult decision of my life. I talked to Patricia Chin every few days. I talked to Maya every day. I talked to Dr. Kim, my therapist, twice a week during those 2 weeks, working through the specific impossible calculus of a situation where doing the right thing legally meant potentially destroying the person who raised me. And not doing the right thing legally meant absorbing $63,000 of damage to my financial life. There is no clean answer here, Dr. Kim said in one session. I know, I said. What I can tell you, she said, is that whatever you decide needs to come from your values. Not from guilt. Not from the obligation you feel as her daughter. From what you actually believe is right. What if I don't know what I believe is right? I said. Then you keep sitting with it, she said, until you do. My mother called every day during those 2 weeks. Not to pressure or not only to pressure. She was doing something I hadn't seen from her before. She was calling to check on me, to ask how I was, to sit on the phone in silence when I didn't have much to say, the particular presence of someone who has understood. Finally, that presence is what they owe. She contacted a debt counselor. She told me about it on the 5th day quietly, without fanfare, the way you report something you've done rather than something you're planning. I'm working with someone, she said, to understand what I owe, to make a plan. A plan to repay $63,000, I said. A plan to start, she said. It will take a long time. I know that. But I want to start. I sat with that. On the 12th day, I made my decision. I called Patricia Chin. I'm not filing the criminal report, I said. Not yet. Possibly not ever. Okay, she said. Tell me what you want to do instead. I want a formal repayment agreement, I said. Legal. Documented. With consequences if she defaults. I paused. And I want help disputing the accounts with the credit bureaus so my score can start recovering. That's a reasonable path, Patricia said. It gives you legal protection without criminal prosecution. It also gives her the chance to actually fix this, I said. Which is what I'm choosing to believe she's capable of. Is she? Patricia said. I thought about the debt counselor. The daily calls. The particular presence of someone who had understood something and was trying to apply it. I don't know, I said honestly. But I'm choosing to find out. 8 months after the mortgage application. My credit score had improved. Not fully. $63,000 of disputed debt does not resolve in 8 months, and the process of working through each account with the credit bureaus was slow and bureaucratic and occasionally maddening. But improving. Measurably, consistently improving. Patricia Chin had been extraordinary, methodical, thorough, the kind of professional who treated your case as if it mattered because she understood that it did. 11 of the 17 accounts had been successfully disputed and removed. 6 remained in process. My mother had made 4 repayment installments. Small, the amounts she could manage on her income after essential expenses. Not enough to make a significant dent in $63,000. But made. On time. Every one of them. The repayment agreement was legal and documented. If she missed a payment, the consequences were specified. She had not missed a payment. That was not nothing. My mother and I had dinner every other week. Not the easy warmth of a relationship that had never been complicated. It had always been complicated, and the complication was now visible in a way it hadn't been before. But real. The imperfect realness of 2 people who have been through something and are choosing to continue. She talked about the debt counseling. About understanding, for the first time at 53, the actual mechanics of money, what credit meant, what debt cost, the specific ways her choices had compounded over decades into the situation that had devastated my credit report. I didn't understand, she said one evening. I mean, I knew it was wrong. But I didn't understand the actual impact. What $63,000 meant to your life. It meant I couldn't buy a house, I said. I know, she said. And I can't fix that quickly. But I'm going to fix it. I know, I said. Do you believe me? She said. I thought about it honestly. More than I did 8 months ago, I said. She nodded. Accepting the partial answer. Not pushing for more than I had. That was new. Maya came over on a Saturday in September. We sat on my balcony with coffee and the particular ease of people who have known each other long enough that being together requires no performance. "How are you actually?" she said. "Better," I said. "Actually better." "The credit stuff?" "Improving," I said. "Slowly, but improving." "And your mom?" I thought about it. "She's trying," I said. "I can see that she's trying. Whether trying becomes something real, I don't know yet. But I can see it." "Is that enough?" Maya said. "For now," I said. "For now it's enough." We drank our coffee. The city moved below us in its Saturday morning way, unhurried, ordinary, completely indifferent to the woman on the balcony who had spent 8 months rebuilding something that had been taken from her. Rebuilding. That was the word. Not recovered. I wasn't recovered. 6 accounts still in dispute. $63,000 being repaid in small installments over years. A relationship with my mother that was real and cautious and ongoing. But rebuilding. Which was, I had learned, the only honest thing available after something has been taken. You don't get back what was taken. You build something new from what remains. And what remained: my clarity, my legal protections, my slowly improving credit score. The dinner every other week that was imperfect and real was more than I had had 8 months ago sitting in a loan officer's office looking at 17 accounts I hadn't opened. That was enough. More than enough. It was mine. I want to say something to you. If someone you love has taken something from you, not just money, but the specific violation of your identity, your name, the legal person that is you, I want you to hear this. You are allowed to protect yourself. Even from the people who love you. Even from the people you love. Even from the woman who raised you and who was the first person to hold you and who also spent 8 years using your name as a financial resource she was not entitled to. Both of those things can be true. She can love you and have done this. You can love her and need to protect yourself from the consequences of what she did. Love is not a reason to absorb damage indefinitely. It is a reason to give someone the chance to repair what they broke. If they take the chance, if they show up to debt counseling and make the installments and call every day and sit on the phone in silence when you don't have much to say. That is not nothing. That is not the same as what they did. But it is something. And something carefully tended can become a great deal more. Get the lawyer. Get the legal documentation. Dispute the accounts. Protect the financial person that is you completely, without apology, because that person belongs to you and to no one else. And then decide, from a place of protection rather than vulnerability, what you want to offer. That is your right. It has always been your right. If this story moved you, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Has anyone ever taken advantage of your trust in a way that cost you? Share your story in the comments. I read every single one. Tell me where you are watching from. I love knowing how far these stories reach. Until next time, protect yourself first. Love second. Always in that order.